Good morning, everybody. Got your coffee? I got mine. So, listen, before I get started, there are a couple of people that I want to say thank you to. I want to say thank you so much to Felicia and Vincent, both of whom are not new to this, regular supporters. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, There is a conversation that I am dying to have with Black people, but I don't think that I'm going to have it in mixed company. I think that we shall have it over in the room because I don't think that all eyes should be on this conversation at all. And I want to have a conversation with Black people and our use of the word nigga. I think it's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad that we have a room, someplace where we can have this conversation. Yesterday in the room, I asked the question, how are you liking the room? And all the responses were amazing, don't get me wrong. But someone said that the room felt like love to them, that it felt like a den full of back in the day, when you had all of your posters and your good music and just the feel that the atmosphere gave you when you would go into the den and just sit around and shoot the shit. And I have to agree. Speaking of which, by the way, we keep talking about boundaries, and I don't know how many times. Actually, this is the last time I'm going to have this conversation. My boundaries for that room are few. They're few. And I don't tend to really explain myself. I'm not one of those people. But when I care about people, and I do care about Black people, I will explain myself. Sometimes I'll explain a boundary. But for those of you all who are grappling with understanding why it is the boundaries are what they are, it's so that the room can stay safe for Black people. And yeah, I do realize that those boundaries are going to hem some Black people up and prevent them from gaining access to the room. But like I said in another video, it really is what it is. You all trying to get me to do extra labor, try to step over those boundaries, try to push me off my boundaries. For the last time, I'm going to call y'all disrespectful. And then not only am I going to bar you from that room, I'm going to bar you from Facebook. I'm going to bar you from TikTok. I'm going to bar you from accessing me here if you keep playing with me. This is the last time I'm going to say that, respectfully. With all that said, what I want to talk about here this morning, I very seldom address mess because it ain't really my style, and I don't involve myself in too much mess and drama. I'm really like that in my real life. I'm an introvert. I tend to keep to myself. I stay out of people's drama and mess because I don't like it. But I think it's important that we talk about what's going on over on the Breakfast Club. And let me tell you why. Full disclosure, this is not a show that I tune into. I don't look for the Breakfast Club. I've never been someone who tuned in for that show. Because for me, it always came off. And I'm not sure, but I think Charlemagne the God is right around my age. But it always came off as kind of young and not smart. I'll put it that way. Just not smart. So I'm not a watcher of that show, but it is important to a lot of Black people in the Black community. Black people tune into it. I want people to understand that this show, although you see all that Blackness on this show, that show is corporately owned and it's owned by white people. That's something I think that a lot of Black people are not understanding at the end of the day. And the way that these Black people have to perform for the benefit of white people, the money, I'm just uncomfortable with as a person who is somewhat conscious and aware of what's really going on. And I have never liked the way that show has left me feeling on the few times that I have tuned in. I don't like it. But all over social media, we see what's going on with Jess with the Mess, DJ Envy, Charlemagne the God, and then this new lady. I think her name is it Lisa Losa? or something like that. Well, what happened in a nutshell was Just Hilarious was she was hired for this job that she was never really qualified to do. But she was their hire. And soon after she got this job last year in 2024, she got pregnant, went on maternity leave for a long time. And she made the mistake of picking a replacement that actually was qualified to do that job. And she did the job so well that by the time Jess with the mess came back to her show, basically they didn't want her there anymore. They realized that she wasn't the talent, that the other girl was the talent, and that the show, and that people liked her better, and the show flowed better with her. Well, Jess starts feeling the vibe. You know when they about to fire you, right? But she starts feeling the vibe. They took away her segment and all that good stuff, and basically renamed it and gave it to the other girl. So she's just sitting there. So instead of having 3 chairs, now they've got 4 chairs. When they've never said anything about ever having 4 chairs. Not even when, and she's right. Not even when the first lady left. I forget her name. Angela Yee. How did I forget that? When she left, no one ever talked about having a 4th chair. That's why they had all of those, those replacements in when they were trying to find Yee's replacement. That's why they had all those guest hosting and trying to see who was the best fit. Full disclosure again, and I'm gonna say this as eloquently as I can. I have always found Jess with the mess to not be funny. I have always found her to be quite ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean stupid. I mean ignorant. Ignorant as in you can tell that she's someone that just some of us, when we leave high school, whether it's after we graduate or if we've dropped out, whichever route we've taken, we don't continue our education, and we are supposed to. Our education is not supposed to stop simply because we stopped going to school. We're supposed to continue to educate ourselves, even if we don't go to college. We're supposed to continue to educate ourselves. And you can always tell those people who don't read, people who don't seek out knowledge. You all think that you can hide from other people, but you can't, because your lack of knowledge is glaring. Your inability to articulate yourself, your inability to keep up in a conversation, your desire to always have somebody look for the work, do the work, it's obvious. We can tell. It's not hard. We can literally tell. So, and she's one of those people. She went on, before she got that job, she was, I guess, a comedian, and she had a lot of social media followers, and she was real big over here on YouTube. And she did this whole thing where she talked about how she didn't support Black-owned businesses. Now, why would a Black woman being so negative and so disrespectful towards Black-owned businesses, why would she come down my timeline? She would come down my timeline because the demographics, the algorithm knows that I'm a Black woman of a certain age, and so they're targeting me because that's the kind of shit that they want to put in other Black people's heads, that we can't trust each other. We can't trust Black-owned businesses. And this is why. Listen to this Black woman say how much she hates Black-owned businesses, why she don't support them, and how much she hates them. Thank goodness the brother T.I., who has made mistakes of his own, but T.I., say what you want to say about him. He does understand the mission when it comes to Black community. He understands it. He gets it. Now, I don't want to get into a whole diatribe about T.I. and his business, but he did pull her to a side because everybody got right in him. Everybody got wrong in him. And we don't want to sit up and pretend like we're above anybody. I don't know how all those allegations, I ended up, like I said, I'm not usually somebody that's involved and embroiled in mess like that. But it was him who pulled her aside and had to explain to her what Black dollars were and how they work. Now, how is it that you don't have a clue or a dawning or understanding or a light? Nothing engages or clicks in your brain when people talk about Black dollars. Like you don't even have enough education to make the leap to understand what people say mean when they say black dollars. And then they have to give her the whole education about why they're so crucial to black people, black communities, and why black dollars should stay in black communities as long as they should. They should stay circulating in black communities as long as possible. And that is the reason why black people need to be supporting black owned businesses. And that's all this whole segregation thing is going to do. It's just going to push us closer together. That's all it's going to do. Like another person said, yeah, and a commenter reminded us, yeah, put up the signs. Let us know who don't want our dollars. Let us know where we ain't welcome. That segregation shit, it ain't gonna hit the second time around. Not like it did the first time. Because we have the benefit of hindsight. 2020 motherfucking vision. And we know that segregation was not the worst thing to ever happen to black people. Go ahead on and herd us up together closer and harder and quicker than we ever could have done on our own with those racist policies. But enough of that. But anyway, instead of these two women just like I said, she was feeling a certain way. So she did a live and she talked about what was happening on the show, on the live. Now, mind you, the minute she did that, she was fired. She fired herself. What route they take is what route they take. But for her to not see the setup and for them to come back on the show the next day and say, well, let's talk about it. And then for all of that stuff to happen on the show between 4 black people on that panel for the benefit of white people and their dollars and the attention of black people. Because make no mistake about it, the attention of black people is valuable. It's currency. It is. More viewers, more viewership, more dollars, more advertising dollars, more money's in the pockets of those white people at the top. And so it wouldn't have, I wouldn't have performed for them. The way I would not have performed for them, not only that, but because I can see that setup coming a mile away, the day before or that morning before, we're going to have the conversation. We're going to look, this is what they want from us. This is what they want us to do. And this is what we're not going to do. We not falling for it. We're going to be intelligent, in command, in control black people. And we're going to have a nuanced discussion based on how we feel. Now, Jess shouldn't have been telling this woman to shut up on the air, be quiet on the air, that kind of thing. It's a better way to communicate. You know, when I say things about black people being in community, not knowing how to be in community with other black people, that's what I mean. She, again, is a prime example of black people that mind, lack of knowledge, lack of intelligence, lack of being in community with other black people. By the time we hit our 40s and our 50s, we should know how to agree to disagree with other black people in a way that is respectful. And if you've got 2 parents that know how to do it, you should have learned even sooner than that. Your parents should have taught you how when you are in conversation with black people, you don't have to disrespect black people just because you disagree with them or just because you feel a way. That whole conversation should have been had in corporate. First off, the bigger conversation, another big portion of this conversation is the fact that this is what happens oftentimes when women go out on maternity leave. Her job should have been secure, but it's shaky because, you know, she was never really qualified for the job. So now she done came back off this long maternity leave. It seemed like she was gone longer than she was there. Somebody else came in. It was a better fit, did the job. And now basically her job is gone. And now you've got these 2 black women, because I hate to see it. They are live on air arguing with each other. Got beef. Live on air. Live on air. Now, just hilarious, since she made that statement about black-owned businesses, I can see some growth there, but not enough where, look, I'm going to pull you to the side and we're going to have this discussion off to the side. And we're not going to do this on the air. We're not going to let all these people tune in and see 2 black women going at each other like this. I am smart enough to do that. I am conscious and aware enough to do that. I never would have done that to another black woman where other black people could see me. Because let me tell you, they pay attention to how we treat each other. And how we treat each other, when black people are tuning in to that kind of environment, that's how we learn to treat each other. That's how we think we're supposed to treat each other. And it's not. We are not supposed to treat each other the way they treat each other. We are not supposed to be disrespectful and rude and condescending and punch below the belt. We were never meant to do that. That was never meant to be a part of our human experience. We're different kinds of humans. And that's the reason why I hate to see this playing out on a show like this. Because there's no way in the world that you cannot tell me a show that is corporately owned, corporate sponsorship, yada yada yada, all of that, doesn't have an HR department where they could have sat down there and they could have talked about how they really felt. And if they wanted to fire her, they could have just waited to the end of her contract or whatever, instead of trying to push her out the door forcibly like that by being made to feel ganged up on by her 3 co-workers, counterparts, and her having to fight for her life and defend herself like that on the air in front of people for everybody's entertainment, enjoyment, amusement, and hearing pleasure. Donkey of the day, with that said, goes to the Breakfast Club. If you would like to support the platform, the library pantry, or just buy me a cup of coffee, or today, I would really like to treat myself to a tropical smoothie, we can use it over here. I'll drop my Cash App and Venmo down in the comments. Y'all have a good day, and let me know what you think down in the comments.